Take heart, for the race of man is divine. The main problem that runs through the whole of modern society is the misunderstanding of the true nature of man. Materialistic science has reduced humanity to a kind of automaton. It is much the same as when H.P. Blavatsky first published her magnum opus, The Secret Doctrine, to disabuse us of this delusion and to show us how neatly we fit into the divine plan that is unfolding. Mankind has a great destiny, and if we can become aware of our potential, then the time of transformation will be nigh, and the golden age will be here at last. Now, the words in the title of this talk are taken from the golden verses of Pythagoras, and in the next line to the one quoted he says, "Sacred nature reveals to them the most hidden mysteries." This is echoed in The Voice of the Silence by H.P. Blavatsky, where it is written, "Help nature and work on with her, and nature will regard thee as one of her creators and make obeisance, and she will open wide before thee the portals of her secret chambers, lay before thy gaze the treasures hidden in the very depths of her pure virgin bosom. Unsullied by the hand of matter, she shows her treasures only to the eye of spirit, the eye which never closes, the eye for which there is no veil in all her kingdoms. Then will she show thee the means and the way, the first gate and the second, the third up to the very seventh, and then the goal, beyond which lie, bathed in the sunlight of the spirit, glories untold, unseen by any save the eye of soul." So these treasures are only for those who have become aware of their spiritual self, and have learned therefore to love nature. Society at the moment conspires to destroy nature for its own profit, and to thereby cultivate the great dire heresy of separateness that weans us from the rest. Man as a result becomes more brutal and divorced from nature, and selfishness rules his thoughts. As human beings sharing the same planet, we cannot seem to get along with each other. The poet Robert Burns wrote, "Many and sharp the numerous ills inwoven with our frame. More pointed still we make ourselves, regret, remorse and shame. A man whose heaven-erected face the smiles of love adorn, man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands mourn." Man's inhumanity to man makes countless thousands mourn. So most of society is consumed by trivialities that the lower mind transforms into necessities and makes appear of great importance. People die for causes that are the product of the limited intellectual understanding of a few, or the mass delusion of the many. There is so little respect for life that people kill for the sake of money or position, or to gain territory, all things of little importance in the wider picture. There is no thought of the impact of what they are doing, nor of the beauty and dignity of the true human condition. Love is replaced by lust, and lust is companion to anger and jealousy and other lower emotions that are ultimately destructive. It is essential in this day and age that we learn to see the divine in others, and therefore to love them as our brothers and sisters. We must cultivate ahimsa, harmlessness, and be compassionate even to the insect. The Theosophical Masters tell us, "How many of you have helped humanity to carry its smallest burden, that you should all regard yourselves as Theosophists. O men of the West, who would play at being the saviours of mankind before they even spur the life of a mosquito whose sting threatens them. Would ye be partakers of divine wisdom or true Theosophists? Then do as the gods when incarnated do. Feel yourself the vehicles of the whole of humanity, mankind as part of yourselves, and act accordingly." The world in general has an obsession with war and with conflicts. A kind of insanity impels governments to spend billions of pounds on weapons of mass destruction, whilst millions of people are struggling to survive. In the Bible, Isaiah chapter 2 verse 4, it is said, He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many people. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. If you look at He as not being a personal God, but humanity in general, then we can begin to see that the only way to find peace is to give up the perverse desire to harm others for relatively unimportant reasons. There's only one weapon we should use to overcome others, and that is love in its truest sense. There's a song entitled Only Love Can Save Us, and this should be taken on board by society in general, because no matter how learned or unlearned a person, it is something that can be understood and applied in everyday life by everyone. There is an incredible difference between the mentality that is reluctant to kill an insect and the one that indiscriminately slaughters thousands of fellow human beings with little or no emotion or regret. Those who are capable of the latter and call themselves religious are in reality also killing religion and their primitive view of God, made in the image of man. This is the cause of untold suffering in the world. The God who possesses all the worst qualities of a human being and is inferior to an even ordinary devout Buddhist hardly merits worship and divine honours. Morihei Ueshiba, the founder of the non-violent martial art Aikido, wrote, "When someone comes to you with anger, greet them with a smile. This is the highest kind of martial art. When someone comes to you with anger, greet them with a smile. This is the highest kind of martial art." It is time we practiced this kind of martial art. Warrior castes and races are historically classed as brave, but there's nothing brave about the systematic murder of fellow human beings. Karma comes down heavy on the perpetrators of such brave acts. Famous victories are glorified in books and on film and TV, but now we should begin to turn our attention away from such brutality. It may be necessary at times to take up arms to protect one's country, but this should never be glorified, as many innocent people die in the process. H.P. Blavatsky again says in her first letter to the American conventions, "The tendency of modern civilization is a reaction towards animalism, towards a development of those qualities which conduce to the success in life of man as an animal in the struggle for animal existence. Theosophy seeks to develop the human nature in man, in addition to the animal, and at the sacrifice of the superfluous animality which modern life and materialistic teachings have developed to a degree which is abnormal for the human being at this stage of his progress." Mankind in general then manifests the more bestial aspects of animal nature, as many animals of course are gentle and harmless. The words of the holy ones have generally fallen on stony ground and have not taken root in the consciousness of humanity as a whole. Despite all of this, Pythagoras exhorts us to take heart, because all this negativity is on the surface and the result of this misunderstanding of the real self that can animate and awaken each one of us, individually and collectively, to who and what we are in reality, and then our worldview alters completely, and we begin to see that the race of man is truly divine. We'll become aware of the absolute preciousness of every individual life, whether plant, animal or human, and respect will grow in us for all of them. We'll become consciously incapable of harming any of them needlessly, and will do all that we can to minimise destruction done for merely selfish reasons. Our thoughts, even regarding buildings and housing, etc., will take into account nature, and we will do our best to show compassion to any life that may suffer as a result of it, thinking how such buildings might help to enhance nature rather than to spoil it. Our fellow human beings will not be judged by surface appearances. Everyone has their own journey, and we do not know what another one is going through that may make them angry, withdrawn or bitter. We must always remember that deep inside of them is brooding the true spiritual being, and that we must seek to be aware of it and perchance bring to the surface with kind words, loving thoughts and gentle treatment, not being concerned with short-term results. Seeds have been planted that may sprout in this or future lives. All we can do is to try to act in harmony with the evolutionary process outlined in the Secret Doctrine and other works. We must elevate these from mere intellectual concepts to the realm of enlightened practice and understand that the reason these teachings were given out to us was so that we could become aware